with you again in my present life.
Wonderful. And it looks like we're rolling, right?
In about 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Okay, I'm sorry. I just saw the recording sign.
Okay, we're live.
Thank you, Roland.
Yes, ma'am.
So we will officially call the meeting to order at 4:03 p.m. And again, officially, we welcome Suzanne back to Norwalk Public Schools, and we welcome her officially to the curriculum meeting. I see a smiling face, so I guess that's a happy thing, yes?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, so our first order of business is the approval of the minutes. Colin or anyone want to?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay.
And the only comment I had was just at the very end, it looks like the note taker went back into the initial shorthand.
Okay. Was it the initials that you're concerned about?
Excuse me. Yes, it looked like she was using her shorthand notes.
The shorthand, yeah. I had written that down too, so if we can make note of that, maybe she can use the full names rather, or the last names rather than the initials. So thank you, Colin. With that one correction, let's see, all in favor? Raise your hand or say aye. So it's unanimously approved. Thank you. Okay, it's going to be the Donalda, Tina, Janine. So somebody else is on, but I can't. Is someone else here? Oh, Diane, the Diane show. Okay. So this will be interesting. We've been talking about the data for students and, you know, with learning loss and what the supports are for this summer. And so I will turn it over to Ms. Chumney, who will explain and introduce everyone who's going to speak.
Hey everyone, I'm Donalda Chumney. I'm the Chief Academic Officer here at Norwalk Public Schools, and I want to give other folks on the team the opportunity to introduce themselves just in case we don't all know each other. And before I pass the mic to Tina, I want to say Karen Amaker and Reginald Roberts, thank you so much for being here today. I know that your lives as principals are very, very busy, and we're really delighted to have you share about the freshman summer bridge programs that your two schools execute for kids. So Tina, would you like to introduce yourself, please? Pass to Janine when you're done.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Tina Henkel, Director of STEM for Norwalk, and I'll pass it to Janine.
Hi, everyone. Janine Goss, Director of Humanities, grades 3 through 6. Diane.
Hello, everyone. Diane Filardo, Director of Testing and Accountability.
Okay, terrific. So our team has been here at our district office, has been working really closely to monitor our data, our school and student performance data over the winter, and now we're in the spring interim assessment period for literacy and mathematics. We use a tool called AimsWeb Plus to monitor students' progress toward meeting percentile level benchmarks that the state of Connecticut specifies the progress measures to make sure that students are appropriately supported with tier 2 and tier 3 instructional work to make sure that they have full access to the curriculum and meet learning targets. And so as we look to see how kids are doing in light of this most extraordinary school year, Sherelle and I had talked during our consultation and planning for this meeting about looking at what does the summer program look like so far, how is it designed, and how will it support our students and our teachers to be ready to thrive and grow and continue learning in a post-COVID environment. So we've taken an approach to the design of summer school that is really significantly informed by our superintendent's vision for what that can look like. And I want to share that with you very briefly now before Karen and Reginald do their presentations, if that's all right. Sherelle, I'm going to share my screen. Is that okay?
Of course.
Okay, great. Here it comes. That's me being extraordinarily optimistic. Okay, so here we go. Perfect, because sometimes the tech doesn't always agree with us. So
Gotcha.
I want to thank the team for helping put together this really sort of, it's like a 10,000 foot overview of our summer academy this year. Let's see, I just need to figure out how to advance my slides if I have no errors. Next slide, do I click something? What happens next? I want to be able to go to the next slide. Oh, okay, perfect. All right, this is an overview of what we're going to share. Dr. Case, would you mind muting your microphone? I'm hearing an echo. Thank you. Okay, so in terms of, or I can mute myself and I can talk through your microphone, no problem. 1 second. Okay, so can you all hear me okay? All right. So with this, the purpose of our summer school is to make things as exciting and interdisciplinary as possible. I'm so sorry, just 1 second. Would you mind muting yourself? Thank you. Sure.
Now you're mute, Donalda.
Okay, am I better? Now we're
Yep.
good? Okay, great. So in terms of the vision for summer school, engaging our kids, they've had such a difficult year with so many restrictions on what it means to be typical children in a typical school setting, that Dr. Estrella really wanted to give students the experience of something interdisciplinary, extremely hands-on, full of engaging, fun experiences to build knowledge and build academic proficiency while having the aspects of school that they haven't been able to engage in so long. Supporting artistic exploration, having lots of opportunities for outdoor and indoor play, music and arts instruction, and of course, getting them prepared for next school year. And so we know that the requirements for placement or qualification for summer school have to be, are dictated by the state. And typically students in the 30th percentile or below in grades K to 3 are mandated. And then for grades 4 to 8, there's a bit more flexibility in terms of what the district prescribes for students in terms of inviting or mandating their attendance. And so for this year's summer school, we have a month-long program. It's 5 days a week with 5 weeks of duration and 5 hours a day. Starting, the earliest session starts at 8, and the latest session students dismiss at 2:15 because of our busing schedules.
Donalda, I'm going to interrupt for 1 second because we're
Sure.
seeing a beautiful scene of the mountains.
Oh,
So I just wanted to see if you want to switch back to
yeah, I would
the
like
presentation.
to. Yeah, I would like to. Thank you, Tina.
So you might want to unshare your screen and then reshare it again is the best way to do that.
Okay, 1 second. Trying. So sorry, the microphone piece was a little tough. How are we doing now?
Still looking at the scene.
Right.
Which is absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
Nalda, are you, do you have 2 monitors that you're using?
I do.
Yes.
The one that's showing up is the one that's pretty much static and has nothing on it.
Okay.
Could
so
you try dragging your PowerPoint presentation from one screen to the other?
Sure. Yes. Thank you, Roland, so much. Is that better?
We can see it now.
You see it now?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, great. So I'm so sorry, you all. These are our sites for for kindergarten through 5th grade on the left-hand side. The ones in blue are the buildings that are available for use that we're programming into. And the schools in gray underneath are the schools that are the partner schools for those elementary schools. And there are numbers that I shared with Sherelle and other members of the board earlier last week that show the number of classes for each site and why those are partnered together, mostly geography and of course capitalizing on some efficiencies in busing, but also student population of mandated students and the number of classrooms that we have available. Because all of this year's design has the extended school year, the students who qualify for extended school year, as well as students who receive very specific multilingual learner supports integrated into the full program. We have one middle school site, Ponus Ridge, where all of our middle school students will be, and one high school site, which is Norwalk High School. And there will be an academic program for all students in Norwalk, out of Norwalk High School. Thank you, Reginald. A Twilight program that you'll hear a little bit more about later. The extended school year program for our students with moderate to severe learning disabilities, as well as the MLL Summer Academy. That's the long running tradition of, it's an English immersion program that's really intense for students who are newcomers. So in terms of the flow of the day and the instructional focus of our work, we have along the instructional program, a community builder each morning with students in grades K to 8, a literacy instruction block that encompasses a tier 1 instructional program, meaning a standard experience of reading and writing instruction, but also included in that a time where there's small group strategic intervention for students who need support developing their 5 pillars of literacy: phonemic awareness, phonemic segmentation, fluency, comprehension, etc. And so students will rotate through centers and be supported by 1 or 2 teachers in the room to develop their reading proficiency and their writing proficiency. There will be a mindfulness and snack break in the lower grades, and then a math instructional block that has 3 components. One is a tier 1 instructional program that aligns directly with our during the school year curriculum, which is illustrative math. And then an intervention sequence that is a partner of a response to intervention, strategic research-based intervention called Bridges to Intervention, which is a partner of the illustrative math curriculum, and then an individual component where students can practice and build math fluency. There's some center work and choice time for hands-on activity, and then teachers will have the opportunity to plan together to unpack curriculum on a daily and weekly basis, to review student data in teams, while other educators, physical educators, visual artists, our music teachers, and then museum educators from our 2 main partners for the summer program will visit with students and lead them in enrichment or acceleration activity. Then there's lunch and recess as part of the instructional day, and a closing circle. So for the 9 to 12, this is our tentative design. For the first time this year, we know that credit recovery is always a consideration in high school, but we'd like to run 3 sessions to optimize credit recovery over the summer. So there will be 3 sessions of instruction enabling high school students to take 3 credit-bearing classes. There is also a Twilight School program for students who may work or have family care obligations during the day. So really, we're running a 4-session summer school program in high school, aiming to be as flexible as possible, knowing that kids, particularly young people in this particular age group, have had a really difficult go of it, and we want to be as supportive as possible. The MLL Summer Academy is something that we're working with Helene and her team to make sure that we have as many opportunities for students that are attempting, making really strong attempts to master and build English proficiency, to integrate as much as possible with monolingual students who are lifelong Norwalkers. And so we partnered with an athletics support partner to organize an intramural soccer league and to have some sort of extracurricular mixer opportunities for those particular students to be able to have a little bit of fun together and really create some belonging and community amongst kids in different programs. More to come on that. So our major partnerships for the summer, per Dr. Estrella's vision, are the Maritime Aquarium here in Norwalk for our kids in grades K through 3, and the Mystic Seaport Museum in Mystic, and each of it for grades 4 through 8. And so these partners have been extraordinary in terms of helping us work out a learning design that incorporates aspects of virtual visits, specific text study, so that kids have a concrete focus and teachers are fully on board with supporting kids in their learning, virtual visits, and museum educator visits to the school and the classroom, and then culminating visits to the aquarium and museum respectively. And the plan on the Mystic Seaport Museum has elements of really exciting, culturally responsive instruction embedded. There's music, there's text, there's actual very diverse representation. There's a study of the Amistad. There's also boat rides planned for kids of all these age groups across the aquarium and the Seaport Museum. And one special component is that there are virtual family engagement opportunities. They're virtual for the Maritime Aquarium, and they're virtual and in person for the Mystic Seaport Museum. Parents getting the chance to come and participate in the life of the museum with their children. And so these are our core partners. You see here we have our museum and aquarium partners, but we also have our SEL partner, Castle, and the work that we're doing with the individualized technology component with a few of these tools like Myon, Symphony Math for tracking progress, IXL for practice and fluency, as well as our Norwalk Parks and Recreation folks who are supporting us with some after-school options along with the Carver Center. So I want to unshare. There we go. Thank you for braving that with me. And Tina, thank you for alerting me that no one could see my screen. That was bold and I appreciate it. So I'm happy to take questions, or any member of our team can take questions on what we've planned so far if you'd like, or we can proceed to the other presentations. Madam Chairperson, I defer to you.
I don't know if anyone has questions. I always have a question or two. Anyone else? I see Colin. Colin, do you have a question?
Just out of curiosity to know that it looks really, really fantastic and fun. And just wondering if, the changing guidelines around public health, safety, and so on might impact some of the activities planned in terms of maybe adding more in-person opportunities.
We are so hopeful that that happens.
Okay.
Going down to 3 feet has been a big game changer. And I mean, not just in terms of, how many students can fit in the classroom, but simply our ability to have students regroup across classes for enrichment or acceleration or targeted intervention has been completely disrupted this year. So, as kids stay in cohorts, we can't mix them or have them mingle. And so the regrouping that's made possible by people being generally healthier and vaccinations is going to mean everything for helping students recover the learning that, we were not able to provide in the most strategic manner possible just due to the health guidelines this year. And so one of Dr. Estrella's biggest pieces was making sure that kids have an in-person live experience that is interdisciplinary, so that they're prepared to have and can engage in fully outside of school. And so much of our work, whether it's with Joe Matafari or, any other person who really wants to plug in and help develop out this creative sequence, like the Norwalk Arts Center, for example, or the Westport Community Theater, or, any of the folks who are interested in signing on to develop out this programming for young people, has been all about how can we get access for students to go to a place and be with their teacher and potentially with an arts educator or an enrichment educator to be able to have those experiences again.
Wonderful.
I just had a question. Kudos to seeing all the social and emotional supports that you're able to put into the summer school for the younger grades. Well, and I know that the high schools, it's about credit recovery a lot of most of the time, right? For the big kids. But do you see any opportunity for adding any social and emotional support into the program for the bigger kids during summer school?
That's a piece, Suzanne, I appreciate you bringing that up. That is a piece that has been trying to fit a square peg in a round hole so far with regard to the actual program delivery. What we have been able to do is work with a textbook publisher, partly inspired by the work of this committee prior to your arrival, around making sure that our classroom libraries are diverse and inclusive enough to reflect our students, and knowing that that was a K-8 initiative. So we worked with a textbook, or not a textbook, a trades books publisher, to pull what would those book samples look like for high school. And our team is working with Jim Martinez's team now to build out between 6 and 7 events for students, high school students, that don't meet at school, but they meet like the Lockwood Matthews Mansion, Veterans Park, other places around Norwalk. And the senior class president at Brian McMahon and a few of his friends are supporting us with developing out what does it mean to have, what would it look like to have structured staffed events with a guidance counselor, a counselor, a social worker, teachers, arts educators, to have some type of 1 to 2 hour event where kids can meet up and discuss the books that we would provide. And have some structured activity where they would kind of, get in the groove of being social in person with one another outdoors, but be teenagers again, because we really haven't been able to plan for them in that way. And so our team has taken that part on, but the part that is the really, that's the part that feels like it's inherently difficult. So I really welcome any feedback that you have, or any other folks who want to contribute to that part, is how to get the SEL infused inside the actual high school program and day, given that the focus is on credits.
Right.
Yeah, if I could add a little bit, if you don't mind, Donalda. Last year was the first year, obviously, that we had a summer credit recovery program through a COVID timeframe. One of the areas that we focused on with our summer school credit recovery teachers was explicit lessons around social emotional learning through one of our platforms, through Newsella. Newsella has a social emotional learning component and curriculum. And what we wanted and what we trained all of our teachers to do, because these are new students to them, many of these students are not in the same classes that the teachers are delivering in any of these content areas and any of these courses, was at the beginning of every day, there was a 5 to 10 minute lesson through Newsella to rebuild relationships and make a connection with students so that, they start building a new community in the credit recovery program. So that was one way that we hope to reinforce the importance of building a new relationship with this group of students. And the feedback from the teachers from last year was quite positive, and they felt that the lessons through the Newsella curriculum was very interactive and definitely was aligned to the grade level of the students that they were working with and developmentally appropriate. So since we have access to that tool, we hope to continue being able to provide that to our teachers. And just using a 5 to 10 minute icebreaker or relationship builder seemed to help the teachers reconnect with a new group of students that were in front of them. I think it will be even better this year, because last year it was majority of the credit recovery was virtual. And now with a new model and a new mission from the superintendent for everything to be face-to-face, I think it will be even more impactful of a component that we want to hope to maintain this summer.
Thank you.
So before we move on, just in the sake of time, because we have two other presentations, you don't have to answer this question now, but it may just be something you want to think about. So it's probably no secret that my favorite math program is Singapore Math. But we've talked about math scores quite a bit. And so I just, again, it's something we may need to just think about. If we've been using illustrative math long enough to really get a feel for it, to know how, or if it's working, I'm assuming it is because we're still using it, but how we're going to really look at that data to improve math scores. So again, it's, we can talk about it next time, but it's something that's very near and dear to my heart. So I just, I know you're very comfortable with it, you like it, but I just want to make sure that the scores are being improved. So Donalda, is that okay if we talk about that next time?
Absolutely. Complete. Noted.
Okay. I don't want to cut you off guard and expect you to
No,
answer.
no, totally. And glad to go through what the summer model looks like.
Perfect.
That will then with the ultimate goal is making sure that summer is a tier 2, tier 3 component of our year-long approach to making sure that every child is proficient and beyond, and specifically in math and literacy, but definitely with math, because we know that is a real area of development for us.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thanks to this team who has been extraordinary, Cheryl. Thank you for giving us the time. And principals, thank you. You're the first principals to hear about this. So I'll get your feedback later. That's all. Thank you.
Perfect. So do you want to introduce our two superstars?
Man, I feel really blessed to be able to do that. Reginald, I want to introduce Karen, because I know that as a school counselor, she really conceptualized about how freshman summer bridge academies could be, what they could look like. I would love if Karen could go first and talk to us about PTEC's program, and then followed by you, Reginald. Is that all right?
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so thank you very much for having me. It's really nice to be on the call with all these familiar faces. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity to present. I have 2 slides, so I'm not sure if I can share my screen, but if I can't, that's fine. I'll just talk through what our program looked like pre-COVID and what it looked like last year, and then what we're hoping to do this year with some of the constraints being lifted. This is our 8th year of our Summer Bridge program. When we were a program at Norwalk High School, Reginald remembers we had a 1-week Summer Bridge program, and that was because we were just learning about PTEC and what we needed to do. So we had a 1-week program for students, incoming 9th graders. A few years in, or a couple of years in, we changed that to a 3-week program. Most of the day, about, I want to say 8 or 8:30 until about 1:30, and we had it on the Norwalk Community College campus. And so that was a really nice treat for us and for our students to see themselves as college students, because as soon as they were enrolled in PTEC, they were also NCC students, regardless of when they took their first college course. Just going to look at what I have here. So in our first year, as I said, we ran from about 8:30 to about 1:45. We had courses in math, but we had found some way to figure out where our students were going based on their course selection and course requests and recommendations from teachers. So we offered algebra and a combined geometry and algebra 2 course for our math program. We offered English and reading. We offered a transition course called High School 101, exploring computer science, PTEC 101, because we wanted students to understand that they were in a PTEC program and a PTEC high school. That was lunch. We had scholar time, so students had an opportunity to do whatever they wanted to do, obviously within reason, but it was more of an enrichment block. And then we also had a current issues course that we offered students as well. fast forward to last year, and we said, okay, students have been online. We weren't sure if we would be able to actually offer a summer bridge program, but we put it out to our parents and we gave families lots of flexibility. So no one had to sign up for all 3 weeks. Once again, it was a 3-week program. We ran from 9 o'clock to 12:50, and everything obviously was virtual. The teachers signed on even though they were exhausted, and we offered lots of just fun courses. And so we got teachers thinking about how can you teach science in a more creative way? We don't need to teach biology, we don't need to teach chemistry, but how can we teach something that is going to hook students to continue to learn, but to also acclimate them to the school through the Summer Bridge program. So we came up with science concoctions in the kitchen. We kept our high school 101, which was taught by our school counselors. We had research 101, which was taught by Lynn Payton because she partnered with both Norwalk High School and P-Tech. We had a block where the students had an opportunity to meet their counselors. We had stock market madness, and then that rotated every week for 3 weeks, depending on when teachers were available. So not only were we contending with students being exhausted and somewhat burnt out, we also had to deal with the fact that teachers weren't always available. And so having that flexibility allowed us to offer lots of different types of things and things that the teachers probably would teach if they didn't have to teach core curriculum. So, and that worked really, really well. We had a really good turnout, and we were really excited about that. This year now, we're just starting to plan, and to show you exactly how exhausted teachers are, I sent out a survey asking who would be around, who would be interested in participating, and I have 3 teachers who have committed to the Summer Bridge program. And this is coming from a staff that is completely invested in year-round teaching and learning by their participation, seen by their participation in the Summer Bridge programs prior to this year. I have some teachers who are interested in helping us create the program and design it, but aren't going to be around to teach in it. And so we've had to modify a little bit. So now we're looking at, again, a 3-week program. I think the time that we listed was probably 8:30 until about 1:30. And we're doing nothing but fun. So you will learn by doing, you will learn by having fun, but we are not doing anything that is specifically algebra or math related or English or anything like that with the courses that the students will actually take once they enroll in high school. So we're building in a wellness period. And so that could be yoga, it could be mindfulness, it could be meditation, stretching, you name it, it could be walking, whatever it is, they will engage in it. And that's our SEL piece. We're also looking at, let me just pull this up. We're also looking at coding, making sure that we still build in that fun tech piece. And that could be a video game design class. It could be coding through Girls Who Code, who we have a partnership with. We're going to build in the investing experiential Spanish class. And then we're going to try to build in some arts component as well. So I've invited my entire staff to come to a meeting to help plan. What will this look like? How do we create an opportunity for students that involves both their learning as well as enrichment, but selling it in a different way. And we're also creating a survey to send to our students and families to make sure that they'll be around and that they're going to participate. None of this is required, but we also want students to acclimate to high school. So having them come into the building, I think, is critically important to that transition, which can be very scary. They've been through so much already for the entire year and now a few months. And so I think getting on our campus is going to be critically important to that healthy transition, and just allaying some of the concerns that may come with transitioning to high school, but also what does it look like in a COVID environment that's a little less threatening than it has been. So we're really excited, and the planning is underway. So we'll see what it looks like. The other thing I'll mention is that traditionally the high schools have had 5-week programs, but we don't partner with Carver. So we have to build this into our budget. And so that's becoming somewhat of a concern, with budgets being what they are and what they may be moving forward. So I don't know how I'm going to fund this just yet, but we're planning as if it's going to happen. Thank you. Questions?
Thank you, Karen.
Well, I just want to say nothing but fun sounds like the perfect way to live this summer. And I think that it's exactly what our students need right now. The idea of learning by doing and having fun and just kind of, a lighter approach after such a heavy year. So thank you for developing that.
Thank you.
It sounds awesome. Can I come?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So it looks like no questions. That means you did an awesome job and everybody's really excited about what you're doing with the children.
Thank you.
So thank you again.
Thank you.
So do we want to move on to Mr. Reginald? Donalda?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I can
Okay.
introduce him if you want, but
No, please
I
go
think
ahead,
you're really
Sherelle.
good at it.
Oh,
So
am
go
I?
ahead. No,
Well,
go, you can go.
what I lack in concrete facts, I definitely make up for in enthusiasm. It has been, I'm so delighted. I am so delighted to have Reginald here today. And I also want to just give a little shout out. We do a multilingual learner study group with the very esteemed Dr. Jim Cummins, internationally known, sort of incredible contributor to the field of English as a second language instruction and multilingual learning. And his study group that he led today with Reginald, who facilitated for his team, was really, really fantastic. So Reginald, we started the day together and now we're ending it together. Please take it away.
Good. Well, thank you. So our program actually, I just found out today, the flyer that we created, actually Miss Erica created when she was at McMahon about a decade ago. So I'm going to show you her work as ours. So, but anyway, so we have an annual freshman 5-week program, and you can see my screen, right? Okay.
Mhm.
And so it's going to run from July to August. This was last year's flyer, but I just wanted you to see it for yourself. And so it's really to acclimate students to what the high school experience is. And so we usually start talking to 8th grade counselors in February and March and finding out what students really need to be there. Unfortunately, sometimes the kids that we want to come aren't the ones who end up coming. But we try to get 100 students, and really it's about, this is our program. So we do a breakfast, which is free. And because the college supports so much, we usually rely on them for the majority of the funding. But I think that the district also pays for some part of it. So we have the academics in the morning, and then we have lunch. And I think one year out of all the years we've done it, we actually had students cook their own food in the culinary department. And then we have activities and then dismissal. And so I think one of the things the Carver always said was we want kids to have some sort of investment. So they had to pay $100 last year, but I don't know if that's the case this year. But in that sense, I think the way they described it was if they are paying something, no matter how much it is, there's some sort of investment to come. And so I think that may be the case again, but I'm not sure. Bus transportation was provided. The same kinds of conduct expectations are in the summer as during the school year. And then these are our courses. So one of them is about English. It's not really English 9 or Algebra 1, or it's not chemistry, or it's not biology per se. It's not really that kind of course. It's the things you need to know in order to pass English 9. The things you need to know in order to bridge the gap between what you learned in 8th grade and what you need in Algebra 1 or Algebra 2. And then in science, the kinds of things you'll need to learn or need to have under your belt just to be able to acclimate to a high school experience. I think a lot of the independent work, a lot of the having to figure out how do you do multiple things at once, how do you plan in advance and have multiple things due, that's kind of in this last course. There's one called SWAG, Study, Work, Achieve, and Graduate, and then social studies. So we normally hire 4 teachers, and they sort of take students through this experience of the academic piece and then sort of the how do I develop the soft skills. And then most years we were able to use the pool. And so students used to build these boats actually. And I have some pictures from the hour from like 2013 where you had kids sort of racing in the boats. But anyway, it really wasn't intended to be summer school per se. These aren't students who had failed. These are students who we wanted to sort of get to know high school. And so that was our original plan, and that's what we've been working with. There aren't any, oh, and there are trips. So for example, we would have a trip to, I don't know, a museum, or a trip to, I think we went to the 9/11 museum once. We've gone to different water places. I can't remember the name of the places they've gone off the top of my head, but there were some types of trips built into the experience so that kids were not just coming, sitting. That was the other piece. It wasn't about sitting and hearing, but about doing, about hearing and learning from each other. And so that was really been the gist of it. I don't know if it'll be the same this summer. We are just now starting to ask students to be present. I'm assuming that we'll be able to be in person fully, and that we can offer some sort of experience for kids who just don't want to come. But for the most part, I think if you aren't able to physically come, then you won't be able to participate in this experience. And then there's summer school, which is also a separate thing, but that's credit recovery. This is not really credit bearing, although I understand that's a conversation that can be held about whether or not we can offer some credit for that. So that's our freshman 5-week academy in a nutshell. And it's been successful for all these years in terms of, at least for the kids who come, not knowing some things they do know now. Not knowing really how to be a high school kid, they do learn. I guess our only question would be, how do you get more kids to come?
Well, one of the, this was one of the kind of sort of incentives and equity topics that we were taking on as a committee. That members of the board were willing to entertain the idea that part of our access, our students' access to advanced coursework and areas of interest later in their high school career were really contingent on their credit accumulation early on, and their academic identity, and forming partnerships with educators at the high school level to really push them forward. And so part of our work here in the spring is asking our board committee members to entertain the proposal of having half a credit be awarded for completion of the freshman summer bridge programs across our high schools, so that kids are in a solid position going into high school their freshman year of already having a half a credit that establishes an identity, but also gets them a little bit further down the path toward the future of their dreams.
I'm sorry if I missed this, but what were the hours of the program?
This one runs 8 until 3:15.
And do you think that, do you really have that, recruitment challenges that you think that, that time block is a challenge? Like maybe during the summer, high school kids don't want to wake up till 9:30.
With the later start time this year, this would be the starting time that they are used to coming now. I don't really know why. Some students just want a break. Some of them just want to relax. But then some parents say, you're going to school in some fashion all summer, and I want you to have some sort of, I don't want you to have the loss that you might have, learning loss, summer learning loss. And so we really originally wanted it to be mostly students who needed to have the bridge gapped. You need this because you won't be successful. And so that was our original audience, but it is not always that audience. So we tried a lot of different marketing strategies in terms of going to the middle school, sending actual invitations to specific students and saying, we want you to come, making it more about us wanting you to belong. But then it gets just down to what parents say about what they want.
I asked because I have a family member in a summer program, and it starts an hour later than the traditional start time. And that hour later was a big deal because it was like, I still get some of my summer, my rest. I can sleep in a little bit. So just a thought, maybe if you surveyed them, that might make a difference, that time block for a high school kid.
I do like the idea of the credit too, that getting something, like doing something for nothing doesn't appeal to a high school kid, right? So that idea that, you're not giving away the ranch, you're giving away a half a credit because there's expectations of attendance and engagement, and And I think it's also a signal that this is important. Like, we believe that this is important. This is important for your social and emotional well-being, your transition into high school, and we're going to give you a leg up when you get here. And we're going to continue to watch you and know you, and this is our commitment to you. So I think that will be a big marketing tool for the high schools if we can make this have some type of credit bearing piece with it. I really like that idea a lot.
Erica, I just wanted to mention
Suzanne, I really liked it too, because then you get the kids that don't have a chance to get on the higher track. They have that half a credit, and that kind of pushes them over to get on, the track for what is called the higher classes.
Yep.
So I really like that. And I'm sorry, Karen, what were you going to say?
No, I was just saying, to Erica's point, we had one year we did start at, I believe, 9, 10. And the teachers and the students really liked that because they did get to sleep in. So the idea of summer vacation and getting up at 6:30 or even 7 o'clock is a lot for, some students. So that's something that I think we would consider, but because transportation is so expensive, we have to essentially get in where we fit in. And so if we can piggyback on the busing that is available for the summer school credit recovery programs, then we'll have to take advantage of that, because we've also had to pay for transportation when we were over at NCC, and that's a really huge cost and a hit to our budget.
Karen, are you normally full in the summer?
Yep, even last year we had close to 100 students participating virtually.
And Reginald, about how many do you think, like percentage-wise, that you're short?
We struggle to get to 90 every year.
To 90? I'm sorry, Erica, did you want to say something?
Nope.
No, I saw you pop up on the screen. So another question. Karen, you are affiliated with the Carver, but Reginald, you are not. Is that by design?
No, the other way around.
Or I'm sorry, the opposite. It's the other way around.
Yeah, at the time we weren't a high school. So this is just our second year of being a separate high school. And so the Carver was at the 2 large comprehensive high schools. And so we've always had a program, and we just built it into our budget. And then what would happen is, because ours was pretty much half day or not the remaining 2 hours of enrichment, the Carver program would allow our students to come to their program free of charge for the remaining 2 weeks, because we're only a 3-week program. And so some of our students elected to do that with their Norwalk High School peers.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah, so I've reached out to Novelette, and I've talked to Donaldo a little bit. So we're trying to hopefully change that funding structure so that we can be affiliated with Carver.
Wonderful.
And the other piece, I forgot to mention this, is perhaps why we don't have the full 100, is that we told students you have to be in it for the full 5 weeks. And so they would say, well, I can do maybe 3, but Carver is insistent that the program has to be a full 5 weeks just to get some sort of, it has to be. And so kids were hesitant about that. If we allow them to go and come, that might be different.
Got it. Okay. Donalda, is there room maybe for next year to sort of redesign either the late start time and the duration?
I was thinking, when Karen talked about the busing and tagging on to the credit recovery busing schedule, I was just thinking in my mind, working out the transportation and busing for summer school. I want to just put in a plug to see if there's some flexibilities around having a later start time for these students. To Erica and Karen's point, I'm sure that high schoolers, there's so much that kids are so isolated. And when we see the sort of self-administered surveys that different student governments take on to do for their peers to inform the SGC conversations, it's really just overwhelming to know how the level of struggle that high school students feel right now. And if anything that we can do to, throw open the doors to make sure that kids get the supports and are, surrounded by the types of care that we have the resources to provide, I think would be great. And so Karen, thanks for mentioning that about the transportation being the piece about the hours, because I think we can work on it.
No, the second block of the summer program that you have, what
Mhm.
time is that again?
Let me, I just closed out the
Those are just tentative right now based on some models that we had from last summer.
Okay.
So we have flexibility around that. And just to clarify, the high school credit recovery program does not provide transportation to the students.
okay.
So there are tokens available that we provide if students need tokens to use public transportation.
Okay.
But we don't provide busing for the high school. At least we haven't in the past. So
Session 2, Karen, is, thank you, Tina. Session 2 is 9:30 to 11. The first session is 8 to 9. Well, we all know from virtual meetings that you can't be simultaneously two places at 9:30 yet. All our calendars say that right now, don't they? Yes, they do. Session 1, 8 to 9:30. Session 2, 9:30 to 11. Session 3, 11 to 12:30. These can, of course, be adjusted. And then the MLL Summer Academy, which I think does have some busing, is from 8 to 1. And then the Twilight, which has busing home for students, but tokens too, is 4 to 8. And so there's a pretty significant afternoon window that that people who teach have and kids have that we can look into.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing some creative stuff with busing of elementary students, particularly the K-3 group, from, on specific days, they're going to go straight to the Maritime Aquarium, for example, so that they can maximize their time there before the aquarium actually opens for the day, so they can spend more time with museum educators. So there's some flexibilities. The transportation meeting for that is in the next couple of days, so I'll report back. Thank you for raising that as the problem, because then we can work on it.
Great, thank you. And I don't think we have any public comments. So I don't know if anyone has any further statements. We have about 5 more minutes. Going once, going twice.
We had 3 presentations
hearing
and we
none,
finished 5 minutes early, Sherelle. That's amazing. That's so exciting. Good job.
It's really exciting.
Yeah.
You guys were to the point and you know your stuff, so that's really good. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn at 4:55.
So moved.
Moved by Colin.
I see a hand from Erica.
Erica, second. All in favor? Raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So we will adjourn at, it's unanimous, and we'll adjourn at 4:56. So I thank
you, everybody.
everyone.
Thanks, Sherelle. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
And
you.
I'll look
See you
forward
later.
to seeing everyone next. Well, I'll see some of you tonight, I guess. But in this meeting, I'll see you guys next month.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Reginald.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See everybody.
See you later.